part of what we do. I fell in love with natural wines about 15 years ago and realized throughout my career, not only as a buyer for restaurants and a lot of other various jobs, I just couldn't find them. They were really hard to track down. Sometimes you could get them off the internet, but you didn't always know the quality of the bottle. Every once in a while, you could find some interesting things at the local wine store, but those were kind of hit or miss. And then even in the distribution part of my career, the natural wine scene, unless you worked for certain distributors, they were really non-existent. And a lot of that is what led to Fermented. A lot of that frustration of me trying to find natural wines led to me wanting to open up a store in Alpharetta where you could find natural wines and where I could find natural wines, honestly. A lot of the fun in the store for me is, what am I going to buy and take home this week? What fun, new, exciting wine has shown up? What haven't I seen in a while? What am I going to really get excited about drinking? Because, if you're not excited about what you're drinking, then why are you drinking it? I love the libaceous effects. I don't even know if that's a word, libaceous effects of wine. But really it's the flavor and it's the layers and the complexity and the depth. And it's why I would rather drink wine than tequila. It's why I would rather drink wine than beer. And natural wine, for me, is what really gets me excited. So let's talk just a little bit about natural wine. Most of you on this Zoom call have been around us long enough to kind of know this a little bit backwards and forwards. So natural wine essentially is wine without additives. When we say that, a lot of people's first reaction is, well, isn't that all wine? And unfortunately, the reality of that is no. A lot of wine is manipulated heavily, some of it a little bit, some of it a lot of it. But a lot of wine is manipulated, adding chemicals, adding dyes, flavors, concentrates, all kinds of stuff that producers don't currently have to tell you because there are no wine labeling laws. And one, I don't want to put stuff in my body that I don't know what it is. There's over 76 chemicals that producers can use in the wine production process and not disclose to you on the label. But number two, it's a different flavor profile. Conventional wines, as we call them, the mass-produced wines, tend to have a lot of alcohol, have a lot of sugar, have a lot of ripeness. And they're doing that to cover up flaws in the wine and in the growing practices, the actual raw material that you get from the vineyards. If it's farmed poorly, or if it's in the wrong location, planted with the wrong grapes, you can't really make great wine out of it. So what you do is take it to the laboratory, or you have a laboratory in your winemaking facility, and you add a dash of this, you add a dash of that. You try to construct the wine to make the wine be what you think is going to sell, which is the complete opposite of what a natural wine producer does. And that is, they work hard all season from bud break in March to harvest in August, September, October. They're working daily in the vineyard to make sure that the grapes are the best expression of themselves that year. Almost like us, going to the gym to work out, reading a book to sharpen our minds, taking a course or a master class to become better at something. We're working hard at becoming the best version of ourselves. And that's essentially what these farmers are doing in the vineyard every year from bud break to harvest. And what they get is what they get. What we get is just the result of all of those months of farming and love. The yeast are present to ferment the sugars into alcohol, and all of those beautiful flavors and compounds that you're getting from the wine are a result of the interaction between the yeast, the sugar, the acid, everything that's naturally there in the wine. So that's what natural wine is. Less manipulation, less additives, more natural product. To be completely natural, we would say there's no added sulfites either. There's a fine line between the sulfites and natural wine. A lot of people say there can be no sulfites in natural wine. France passed a law that says there can be up to 50 parts per million total SO2 in the wine to be considered natural. And so we kind of fall in that camp of less than 50, small amount of sulfur is okay for natural. And then anything more becomes a more traditional wine, as we would call it. I would also throw in natural, meaning no influence of oak as well. Because when you start introducing wood to wine, it's no longer natural. That would fall into a traditional style of wine. So I'm looking personally for concrete, stainless steel, concrete preferred, clay amphora. I know stainless has to be manufactured, but it doesn't add any flavor or differentiating qualities to the wine. So I'm okay with that. Native yeast fermentation is a must always, but that also is true in traditional wines. And so we're working on trying to come up with what our definition of natural wine is, because there really is not a definitive take on the subject. Everybody kind of has their own opinion. So we're trying to define what it means for fermented and for our customers. So when we tell you a wine is natural, you'll know what to expect. Natural wines can be a little funky sometimes, but they don't always have to be. We have tons of clean natural wines in the room as well. And then we have a lot of wines, if you like a little bit of oak and you like a little bit more body and heft to your wines, and you don't want it quite as high acid, maybe a little earthy as some of the natural wines can be, there's wines with less additives that we can show you as well that fit into that traditional profile and style, and that fit into that modern profile and style. And that really is what it, at its essence, is all about, is a style of wine that's less intervention and more natural product.
Well, and Adam, I think it's kind of confusing, unfortunately, for the wine consumer, that we're seeing more wine out in the even in grocery stores and big box stores that say that they have organic grapes or made with organic grapes, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it was an organic process in the winery as well. So it's actually a two-part thing. If looking for organic wines is important to you, you need to look for grapes that were organically farmed, and that within the winery everything was treated with a low intervention hand, or no chemicals, etc. And a lot of the time that's not something that's very easily disclosed. So that's why you need an independent retailer or some, I was about to say a know-it-all, a knowledgeable person wherever you're shopping for wine to help point those out to you. Know-it-all is not the right word.
No,
it's a little the right word.
It's true. It can get really, really confusing. And thank you for pointing that out, because organic and biodynamic viticulture don't have anything to do with the winemaking practices. And I say that, but in some places they are kind of tied together, but not always, especially when it just says made with organic grapes. I know biodynamic producers that produce more of a modern style of wine. They're farming biodynamic in the vineyard, but then they're using cultured yeast to start the fermentation. They're not doing a natural fermentation. Their alcohols are a lot higher, and they are adding more sulfites than a traditional producer would do, but they're still farming biodynamically. And so it does become a gray area. And the most important thing to do is build a relationship with your retailer who can tell you the information and the difference between the products that you're tasting and drinking. Now, for us, natural has to be practicing organic or biodynamic. There is no natural without that. And so those things to us are tied in that way. You can't be natural without proper farming practices in the vineyard. So Marco Tanganelli is an awesome story. We love his wines. We've tasted the Rude from him before on our tasting. That beautiful carbonic maceration Sangiovese, it was on one of my favorites a couple months ago. He also makes the Ducky wine, which is an orange wine of Trebbiano that is just absolutely dynamite. And we'll be seeing some more of his stuff come through the store from time to time. This wine I fell in love with when it hit the store. This is one of those super limited wines. We only get a couple cases a year. All of these wines on the tasting are, and it is from Tuscany. So Tuscany, known for the land of Chiantis and Brunellos and Super Tuscans, big brooding red wines, but also some really cool whites coming out of Tuscany as well. The most important grape coming from Tuscany is Trebbiano, and we're actually going to see that in the next two wines. I didn't do that on purpose. I just love both of these wines so much that I wanted to put them on the tasting. So Marco Tanganelli's Pipiri, 100% Trebbiano Toscano. And this is old vine Trebbiano, some of the oldest vines of Trebbiano that are located in Tuscany. They also go into his Anatrino Bianco, the Ducky wine, which is the orange version of this. And this does have a little bit of skin contact, but not enough to really create that deep orange hue, and also doesn't really add a lot of tannin on the back end of the wine as well. So it's a very juicy, bright, beautiful spring summer white. I got really fresh oranges and orange peel off of this. Like if you were to squeeze an orange rind over your drink, over your Manhattan, as they do in the bar, just this really beautiful orange rind, orange zest, peach, pear, melon. It's so complex, and there's so many layers of it. The acid is just absolutely beautiful in balance, and only $31 a bottle. You know, for a white of this pedigree, like we had the Moni, which was amazing for 25 bucks. This for $31, I think, is just absolutely stunning. And again, very limited production of it. It is juicy, it is bright, it is fresh. Man, I absolutely love it. Spontaneous fermentation, always 4-day skin contact, 7 months in stainless. And the pairings are endless. Seafood crudo, like just raw fish, is the immediate thing that comes to mind here, but also roast chicken, turkey, seafood pastas, anything with seafood, really. Anything that has clams, anything that has scallops, anything that has crab, shrimp, those would all be dynamite pairings with this wine. Pan-fried whitefish, orzo salad, risotto, creamy pastas. I'd also throw like branzino in there, just a whole grilled branzino, a little bit of orange, lime, and fresh herbs in the middle of it, and then smoked out over the grill. That would be dynamite. I want a branzino. I wish everybody else in my family would eat fish.
I was going to say, I don't think I've ever heard the phrase, I want a branzino. That's a very specific desire at this moment.
It is.
But I see it totally. This is so beautiful. My first time tasting it. And do we know why he's so into duckies and chickies? Because it's got these cute little chicks on here on this label. They're really subtle to see. And all of his labels have birds on them.
I don't know. We'll have to find that out. We'll do some digging and ask the importer what the deal is with Tanganelli and little birds.
Little birds, little ducks, some chicks, and it's just so cute.
I honestly didn't notice that until you pointed it out, Aaliyah. So well done. Well done.
But that's what I think. Pipiri that's like cheap.
Baby chick. Oh,
I think it's intended to be kind of like a little chick's cheap, but in Italian. This is what the Italian chicks say.
Pipiri. Yeah, it is, man, so good. Trebbiano, really is the most famous of the whites in Tuscany for sure. And it's a great alternative to Pinot Grigio. It's a great alternative to unoaked Chardonnay. And now we're going to see what happens when you add a little bit more skin contact and a couple other grapes in the mix with that old vine Trebbiano. We're going to talk about a winery. Honestly, we haven't talked about it in a while. We used to talk about it a bunch. We had this guy right here, on the very far right-hand side of the group picture, he joined us last year for a Zoom tasting over the summer, and we tasted this wine. We tasted a couple other wines that they produce, and just a beautiful estate that we've had at the store since we opened consistently. We love their Un Litro. We love the Capos, and this is the Bianco. And actually, of all of the wines that we carry from them, this is the hardest to get. This is the smallest production of all of those wines, even harder than Un Litro. There's a good 9 months out of the year that I can't get this wine. And so we always love it when we get to try it. And the beautiful vineyards, Ampalea is located on the coast of Maremma. The Trebbiano we tasted from Tanganelli is a little bit more inland. So we're on the Maremma on the coastline of Tuscany, and they have several different vineyard plots that are at different elevations that they farm all biodynamically. This was a project that was helped kickstart by Elisabetta Foradori. For those of you who know Elisabetta, she is in this top picture up here on the left. She lives in Alto Adige and has her estate up there, and she does skin contact Pinot Gris, Noiciola, and a bunch of really cool Taroldigas from northern Italy. Her Normali just came back in the store. We haven't had it for a while. We did it on a tasting a few months ago and it sold out. It is back. If you remember that wine and you want some more of it, the new vintage just hit. And so beautiful, beautiful wines from Elisabetta. We love her. And she helped start this project. A group of friends in Tuscany bought a defunct vineyard, converted it to biodynamics, planted it heavy with Grenache, and then with a bunch of really cool white varietals and some other Rhone-based red varietals, Alicante Boucher. There's some Syrah, Mourvedre on the vineyard, and then these beautiful whites as well. This is a blend of Trebbiano, Malvasia, which is another famous Italian grape, really in Tuscany, and Ansonica. The Malvasia and the Ansonica are a little bit more floral, and even though they only make up 10% of the mix, they definitely add some different notes to the wine that you don't get on the Pipri. Biodynamically farmed. This is all in their midsection vineyard, so between 300 and 600 meters above sea level, steep hilly vineyards, co-fermented in concrete for 7 days on the grape skins, aged on lees for 6 months in concrete tanks. And I am pouring myself a little bit. I couldn't let go of that last little bit of Pipri. And you can see immediately in the color a much darker color here, even though it only spent 7 days on the skins. The 6 months on the lees helps to deepen and enrichen that flavor as well. So it only had 3 days longer on the skins, but you get more extraction out of those 3 days. And then 6 months on the lees are also going to contribute to that deep golden color that you get on this.
This is just amazing.
Go ahead.
Oh, just that this is amazing, and just immediately how much rounder and richer it is. Clearly from the lees contact, a little bit darker from the extra skin, and even though the majority is the same grape, this one to me, and I can't pinpoint what it is, so this is a brainstorming request from the group. There's like a very clear like Christmas spice or herb. There's like some sort of spice or herb that's here that was not on the last one, that's just really like just kind of like heightening things, doing a little Tyra Banks shoulder action, just like taking a little bit, just a little bit further. That's so pretty. Definitely an all year white when you can get it.
Yeah,
like
I think, is it clove?
Maybe but there's also something green.
Yeah, there is. When I first smelled it, it was almost like a freshly broken, really tart green grape.
Yeah. But certainly that clove as well, that
Yeah.
little spicy edge, so beautiful.
Yeah, it's completely different, night and day difference between this wine and the previous wine. Even though same region and almost the same grape makeup. And it's those other little things that contribute to the differences. It's the lees contact, the concrete aging, the 10% different varietals, the Marema weather patterns and coast, and the saltiness. This one's saltier. It's a brinier. It's green olive, I think, a little bit underneath there as well. Not a very pungent, but just the slightest hint of a sweet green olive. But so much complexity and depth and flavor, and so versatile food wise. This wine can go with anything. Pesto, I think you nailed it right on the head. This would be incredible with like a seafood pesto pasta, fresh basil leaves on it, a little bit of lemon. That's the other thing in this one. You're getting a little bit brighter, like citrus versus the sweeter citrus that you get in the Peabody. The Peabody was like a juicy fruit, orange, peach, pear, melon. This is more lemon, lime, savory, herbaceous tarragon in there I'm getting now, and just layers and layers of complexity and flavor. Every time you take a sip, it's going to be a little bit different. This is a wine, as the Horchata that we tasted last week with Eric. This is a wine that you want to enjoy for a couple days and just think about it. Maybe have it with some meat and cheese, maybe have it on its own. This is like a really deep book of poetry or novel or music that is really difficult to understand and pinpoint. This is like an abstract painting that you have to sit and stare at to try to figure out. You can't figure it out in one sitting, and it's the record that you listen to over and over again, because you're trying to figure out what that sound is and why it's moving you that way. This is a thinker's wine.
So it's like magical mystery tour. This one.
It is.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I know I've had this before, but it's always so wonderful to taste it again. Pelea does such beautiful work with all of their wines, so thoughtfully done, and a really fun team. Like Adam said, we did do the tasting with their sales manager last summer, and that was really great, just to have him there. I think he was at a bachelor party too, and he still made sure to call in to talk to us about these wines, which we so appreciated him taking the time to do that.
At 11 o'clock in Italy, upstairs from a bachelor party.
Yeah, like if that isn't love for your wine and what you do with your life, like I don't know what is. So we always love a chance to share and elevate their wines with you guys, because they're so fun and different, and they really are like kind of at the heart of that natural wine movement that we care a lot about.
Yeah, they really are. Man, that is just like Aaliyah said, every time I taste it, it takes me back. All right, next up is a wine that most of you know, but most of you have not had this one before. At least I don't think so. A couple of you may have gotten it, but we haven't had very much of it, and we haven't had it very long. So we are super, super excited. I'm going to finish up this. Man, actually, I'm going to pour it back and save it for later.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Don't rush it.
No.
Don't rush it. No. While he's pouring, we're in the heel of the boot. We're in Puglia. And most of you have certainly tried, because I think everybody here has been on one of our tastings before, the Perini Negro Amaro, which is 100% Negro Amaro, by the Perini family. Obviously, they call themselves Perini Organics, so they're telling you that they are organically farmed right out the gate. But this is their Salento Rosso, so we have a new red by them. Yay!
Yeah, and thank you to Aaliyah. She actually was the reason that we first tasted this the very first time. She found it in Nashville. If any of you have been to other states to find wine, it was being sold in Nashville, but it was not currently being sold in Atlanta. And so we reached out to the distributor, and because they sold the regular Perini, but not the Salento, and we were able to get a little bit of it this year. I think in total we got 5 cases. FYI, if you are a Perini fan, we are almost out. We are down to our last case. I know it's getting shorter and shorter every year.
Oh, of the 100% Negro Amaro, that is?
Of the 100% Negro, we're down to the last case. I feel like the first year we had it for 6 months. The second year we had it for 4 months. I think this year it's lasted like 2 months. But we do have a few cases left of the Salento Rosso that we're going to taste today. Like 3 is a lot, but that's what's going to be left of this.
And I'm determined to get their rosé next, but I think that it doesn't even come to the U.S. yet. So, but it's a mission.
Yeah, we'll keep working on it, because I would love to have rosé from them. As she mentioned, just beautiful people, working farm, brother and sister. They're doing it the right way, farming bio. This is, so the Negro Amaro is 100% Negro Amaro. This is 80% Negro Amaro and 20% Primitivo, the 2 most important grapes of Puglia. So Salento Rosso is a region within Puglia. It's a smaller region within the smaller region of Puglia. Salento, I believe, is right around here in the northern part. And nope, didn't want to go there yet. And it is always Negro Amaro and Primitivo. So if you see Salento Rosso, you know it's going to be those grapes. And it's really just a beautiful kind of daily drinker. 20 to 25-year-old vines. They are certified organic, practicing bio. This has no added sulfites, and it states it on the label for you. So this is as natural can be. Stainless steel. Maceration is 12 to 14 days, natural yeast, and I love their wines. They're just beautiful, delicate, elegant. Primitivo and Negro Amaro can be really terrible if they're not treated the right way. They can get really alcoholic and overripe and sweet, and because of the sunshine that is in Puglia, it's really easy for that to happen. And that's also a trick that people do when they want to produce more grapes, is they pick riper grapes and they add water. The water helps you get more product, and it also decreases the alcohol level, so it doesn't seem like the grapes were so ripe. And that is a common practice among the lower tier, high production, mass-produced wines that are heavily manipulated. That is a standard practice to get a little bit more bang for your buck, as they say. And so in that region, these guys are doing it the right way. They're farming ethically. They're really creating some elegant, beautiful wines that are really good with food. This is a great pizza wine. Only $20. The regular Negro Amaro is 18. This one's 20, and it's just a fantastic value for under 25 daily drinking. Really awesome wine. I mean, I try not to buy too much of it because I want everybody to have it, but I have to buy at least 1 or 2 bottles a week when we do have it in stock because I love it so much. There's always this telltale anise with their wines. Every vintage it's been there. Even with the 100% Negro and this Negro and Salento, you get this beautiful anise on the nose and on the palate, that black licorice flavor. Some years it's more prominent than others and it's more pronounced than others. And if you don't like the black licorice, I will tell you it diminishes with time being open. And this is a wine that became famous because when we first opened Fermented, I told people it's better on day 4 than it is on day 1. And they did not believe me. Most of you, before we opened Fermented, had not experienced a wine getting better over time because those manipulated wines cannot get better over time. They fall apart instantly, and that's one of the ways that you can tell if a wine deteriorates rapidly after day 2, you know it's a mass-produced commodity wine that has a lot of manipulations. Now, wine that gets better every day is a wine that is more naturally made, because wine can age. And although oxygen does deteriorate wine, there is a point where it becomes better before it becomes worse. And on this, that was day 4. I haven't tried out this vintage, so I'm not sure if it's better on 2, 3, or 4, but guaranteed it's going to be better than day 1, or just decant it for an hour or 2, and it'll be absolutely beautiful.
I think I really enjoyed it on day 3, day 2, day 3 in particular, because that just the nice balance between the Primitivo and the Negro, they just really highlight each other well. And I am generally, full disclosure, not an anise black licorice person by any means. If I can taste that in a dish, it's usually very off-putting to me, but not, I don't know what it is, if they just have a special like baby halo glow around them. But I don't, even though I perceive that in these wines, I still very much enjoy it. And I know that this is a family I can count on for what am I having tonight? It's one of those, it doesn't matter. This is going to go. This is going to go with it.
Yep. Man, that's so good. And again, it's the layers, it's the depth, it's the complexity, it's the personality. It's you know, a long time ago, I used to describe these wines as wines that have soul. There's something alive in them and vibrant in them, and yep. Doing my happy wine dance because it is delicious.
Well, and I think one of the first time we posted one of their wines on Instagram, I think we post their wines a lot, so they don't comment as much as they used to. But when we initially posted the Negro Amaro on our Instagram, they commented back and they're like, wow, thank you so much. Here's some dishes that we recommend pair really well with our wines, which I just thought was so sweet and so personal. And I'm trying to find it for us so that way I can share that with you guys. But I just thought that clearly it's that family that they're like, oh yeah, well here, you should try it with this. You'll like it even more, which is just, that's the great thing about working directly with families too.
Amen. It is. Oh. Yum, yum. Sorry, I'm just contemplating the wine. It took my breath away. It took my words away.
I think technically this next one is the only wine from this week that is not technically from Italy, though we did show majority Italian wines this week. You can find natural wines certainly across France, Spain. Spain is currently the largest producer of organic wines in the world, but the big 3, France and Italy and Spain, they're all toggling for that spot depending on the year. And unfortunately, poor France for the 2021 vintage, they're taking a major hit this year because of the frosts that they experienced within the past month. I don't know if anybody saw those on social media, or if you saw pictures of like little fires burning out in the vineyards. Those were the vintners trying to keep the vines warm as this frost hit in mid-April. And though they haven't done a full damage report yet across Burgundy, Beaujolais, Bordeaux, and the Rhone valleys in particular, the harvests for 2021 are not looking very good. So France will probably, for the 2021 vintage, not be in the highest producer, which was so sad. But hope everybody takes some time to research that a little bit, just to know about the care and efforts that your winemakers are putting into trying to get wine to you. And unfortunately, in a couple of years, I think we're going to see some price increases and some stuff we're not going to be able to get from France in particular.
Yeah, add that to the tariffs, and French wine is going to just keep getting more expensive and more expensive and more expensive. And, you know, honestly, La Bhutanche is an example of that. There's actually a lot of examples of it in the store. We've had to raise prices on a lot of French, Italian, and Spanish wines because of tariffs, because of shipping problems. Like all the stuff that we've gone through over the last year has affected all of the producers that trickles down to us, and it sucks. And there's nothing we can do about it. We can
We're gonna
figure out,
keep trying.
we're gonna be fine, I know, but it just starting to see inflation start is difficult at the time. And I know we'll be fine. In the 1970s, you could buy these wines for a nickel. And now they're $25 and we're still okay. And we're still drinking them and we're still enjoying them. But when you're in the middle of it happening, it's not fun. Like this wine, this is a La Bhutanche project, and the La Bhutanche wines, 10 years ago you could find them for $20, and slowly every single year the price has increased, and it increases from the producer to the distributor to the importer to us, and it's no fun. And now these wines are $29, but I will tell you that it's a problem not just of inflation but also of supply and demand. It's bound to happen. As you see wines like Perini, $20 right now. In 10 years, that wine will be $30 at least, because there's not enough of it to go around, and it's so freaking delicious. So we continue to hunt for the wines that haven't peaked in popularity yet to find those values. And then the wines that were popular 10 years ago but are still amazing, they're not making any more of them. So naturally, the price is going to generally increase in those. And this is Domaine Santa Maria. Again, La Bhutanche Project. La Bhutanche, if you don't know about them, is a project between Selection Massal, an importer, and different producers throughout the world, mainly in France, but also now branching outside of France into California, into Austria, into Germany. And this is their first Corsican project that I'm aware of. So we're on the island of Corsica, way down here at the right bottom of the map of France, above Sardinia, and actually closer to Italy than it is to France, but it is a part of France. This is most famous for being the exile of Napoleon, and it is a beautiful place and makes some beautiful wines that we don't see very much of. Domaine Petroni, which again, for those of you who we still owe outstanding bottles to, it is coming in. I am told in the next 2 weeks, and we will fulfill those outstanding wines. But this is, in my opinion, an even more interesting version of those grapes. So Grenache, Syrah, and Nicchio are the grapes that were in Petroni. This is Grenache and Nicchio. I can never say it correctly. It's yeah, but it's going to come out different every time. It's just bound to.
The spelling is.
It's not fun. But it's an ancient clone of, or relative of, Sangiovese. So it shares a lot of qualities with Sangiovese that we're seeing in Tuscany. And to my knowledge, I've never seen it anywhere other than Corsica. So indigenous to this island. If you want to drink it, this is the only place you can find it. And it's a beautiful combination with Grenache and Syrah. Organically farmed grapes sourced across 60 acres, in different communes, native yeast fermentation, stainless steel, same story, unfined, unfiltered, small amount of sulfur at bottling, and that's it. And we would pair this. I love the falcon right here. So for those of you who don't know the La Bhutanche Project, everybody has their own spirit animal, if you will, or wine animal. And this is Santa Maria's, and he is the falcon. Badass. And this is a big natural wine. So a lot of people think natural wine is going to be light, bright, juicy, gluglu, glugla. And a lot of it is. But there's some serious, deep, dark, rich, intense natural wines as well. And this is a great example of that. It's powerful. It's yummy.
Sorry, I agree. This is another one that I'm tasting for the first time. And frankly, I kind of love the metaphor that we started with the baby chick, and here we are at the end with the full falcon. I love that journey for us.
I wish I could say I planned that.
Well, now you put it on record that you didn't. It's just a happy thing. It's just a happy little thing. And I love this bomber jacket. But I love Domaine Petroni. Obviously, that's been such a staple for us and so delicious. But this is too. Plus, it's a liter, and I could just sit here and smell it. I could just sit here and smell it all day. It's like a little happy thought.
I agree. And darker fruit. Mm-hmm. Complexity, depth, super versatile. It's still got acid. And as Aaliyah mentioned, a liter bottle, so 33% more fun. $29. We got 18 bottles, and that is it.
We do currently have a little of Trollinger in store as well.
I think we sold the last one today.
Then forget what I said.
Yep. We had the Trollinger from Knaus in for a little while. The Gorilla Martin Texier we see from time to time. The Pig Oliver Minot we see from time to time. The Brock Badger we see from time to time. And so they're all different. The Trollinger was light, bright, glugla. The Oliver Minot is usually that light, bright glugla. The Martin Texier gets a little bit bigger. The Brock gets a little bit bigger. And then this is the fullest and densest of all of their reds that they produce. And just, man, I love it. Very versatile barbecue pork. I want this with some ribs. I want this with some pulled pork, some mac and cheese.
Oh, mac and cheese. That would be so good.
Collard greens. This is barbecue wine to me.
You lost me with the vegetables.
That's all right. You got to have your greens, Aaliyah. Come on.
Oh my gosh, you sound like my husband. I know.
I do absolutely. Beef stroganoff would be amazing with this. Any red sauce pasta, Thai beef, Korean barbecue, very, very versatile wine.
Just in general, barbecue. Just have that in the back of y'all's minds as you're enjoying some sort of barbecue. Pizza forever.
Which I do have a new barbecue concept that I came up with the other day, but I'm not going to tell anybody about yet. I just came up with the name and I absolutely love it, and I'm going to hang on to it till I can do something with it. Somebody doesn't steal.
Okay, well, now that everybody kind of knows but doesn't know.
Yep.
Look out.
Be on the lookout for a barbecue project in the next few years. The mind doesn't stop. I tell you, I try, but it just doesn't. So which was your favorite? Now is that time to put it in the chat function. And this is the hardest, but also the easiest decision for me tonight. And it's the strangest thing because I'm in love with every single one of these wines, but I know absolutely which one was my favorite without even having to think about it.
Okay. Then what? Okay, you're gonna tell. We'll tell after everybody else.
Last. I can't.
Last. Yeah, this isn't a tough one. The thing I like about this is these are all such easy drinkers that I know that if I've got them in my fridge, I'm covered for the week.
Oh yeah. Throw a couple bubbles in there and you're set. And that's your weekly 6-pack, which if you aren't getting a weekly 6-pack from us, you probably should be getting a weekly 6-pack from us. And I think most of you are. My weekly 6-pack usually consists of 2 bubbles, 2 white, orange, rosé, and 2 reds. And it'll vary depending on what the season is like each week, but I have to have bubbles. I have to have orange or rosé, and I have to have red. Those are non-negotiable every single week for me. And when I get home from work, there's nothing more than I want than a little splash of bubbles, just to sit down and begin the unwinding process. And then a little glass of orange to mellow out the bubbles, and then a little glass of red to finish. And that's usually my nightly progression. I do not drink the same wine all the time. Why in the hell would you do that? But that's why you're here, because y'all love the adventure as well. And it's such a fun
Love
adventure.
to explore.
All right, what we got, Aaliyah?
Okay, well, close call. We've got 3 votes for 3 and 2 for 4. So,
and I'm gonna be the only one that votes for number 2.
Okay, for number 2, and yep. I'm actually not going to make this any easier because I think for me it's number 4. So yep. We have a red tie for this week, which is fantastic, and these are great reds as we transition spring. It's still let's have a spring moment first. These are great spring reds.
They are.
It's not summer yet.
It's not. It's going to go down to 60 before it goes back up to 90 again. At least I hope it does.
It just better not get to freezing again. I've had to replant my flowers like 3 times already.
No, I don't like the freezing either, but I could use a little 60s right now. Cool mornings and evenings. But thank you again so much for joining us. Happy Wednesday, everybody. If you want these, remember to either go online or come in the store. Let us know you're on the Zoom taste and you get 5%. Wine Club members, you get 10%. And thank you so much for your support. I love our weekly Zoom tastings. Coming up next week, if you are a fan of Corsica, we're going to cover another island in the Pacific. No, in the Pacific. On Mediterranean. Atlantic. Which one are we in? Is it Mediterranean or Atlantic?
It's the Atlantic, but but if you're talking Canaries, they're in the Mediterranean.
Okay, yeah, it's the Canaries that I'm talking about. So we're gonna go to the Canary Islands next week with our Spanish wine specialist Chris Barnes, and go see a really cool winery in Vinante. Minimal amounts of these wines made, very allocated, really beautiful, weird, fun, and delicious. The week after that, we've got Bobby Labertino. We're going to taste some really fun wines from Australia and New Zealand. And then after that, we have canned wines. And then Kelly from A Cork in the Road is going to make another appearance with us and talk about some of her favorite wines for the moment. So that is the month of May coming up. Grab your friends, come join us, have some fun. Also, Saturday flights on the patio. If the weather's nice, grab a flight. If it's not, still grab a flight and just take it home and drink it. We love you. We thank you. We'll see you in the store soon, and have an awesome rest of your Wednesday evening. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.